Today we will be looking over immigration in America and its influence on American society. Immigration was a very important topic during the presidential elections because U.S. immigration, in the past and present, has played a key role in our economy. The increasing global and domestic populations have made immigration an even more obvious presence in America. During this presentation, I will begin with a short introductory video followed by information pertaining to the history of immigration in America and what previous policies and governmental actions were taken to address this issue in the past. We also will be identifying the pros and cons of how immigrants influence American wages, taxes, unemployment, and crime rate in the United States. In order to gain an understanding of both positions, I'd like to begin this presentation by introducing a video that gives insight on perspectives of immigration. It gives an overview of the current perspectives of immigration and an example of how society views this topic in the United States. Okay, I don't think it plays on here, but the video goes over how it's obvious that immigration is a topic that impacts various people. To have a boycott led by immigrants is nothing out of the ordinary. We have seen it before, one example being Cesar Chavez and the Great Boycott. Historically, immigration issues has always been present. Some examples of historical immigration issues include the old immigration during the early 1800s, where Northern European regions' first basic wave of immigration occurred. Reasons for immigration were religious, political, and economic. America provided an opportunity that was not in other places. During the 1840s, the Irish came in bigger populations to escape the potato famine. Also, there was a new immigration in the 1850s and 1870s, where the Eastern Europe immigrants during the Industrial Age, there was an influx of immigrants from Italy, Spain, Germany, Poland that immigrated to the United States. Cheap labor was key for industrial and business success during this time. Due to sudden influx of immigration, nativism began to take place, which was backlash on immigrants. During the 1840s, there was a group called Know-Nothings, which was an anti-immigration group. Similar attitudes can be seen today towards immigrants. The picture to the right is an example of how Americans had a fear of immigrants. This one, which appeared in the 1896, depicts an immigrant carrying his baggage of poverty, disease, and anarchy, and as he's approaching Uncle Sam. In addition, in 1917, there was an Immigration Act. After World War I and the mass immigration to the United States, the immigration of 1917 required that immigrants be able to read and write in their native language and had to take literacy tests in order to enter. During the 1920s, there was a Quota Act law which set immigration number to 350,000 during the Russian Revolution, and there was a serious fear of socialism during this time. Later, following the Quota Act, was the 1924 National Origins Act, which favored Northern European immigrants and discriminated against the non-Northern Europeans. This was another way to limit the amount of immigrants in the United States, which was the cap of about 150,000. Later on, in 1965, Immigration and Neutralization Act by Lyndon Johnson, which numbers increased and allowed for political oppression to be a reason to immigrate. This changed the way the quotas were allocated by ending the National Origins Act. In 1986, Immigration Reform and Control Act was made by Ronald Reagan, which required employers to attest to their employees' immigration status and made it illegal to hire illegal immigrants. As for current policies, the Immigration Naturalization Act, the INA, was implemented on August 12, 2016, and provided for an annual worldwide limit of 675,000 permanent immigrants. There is also the family-based immigration status, which is a family unification that is an important principle governing immigration policies. The family-based immigration category allows U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents to bring certain family members to the United States. There is also the employment-based immigration status, which is where the United States provides various ways for immigrants with valuable skills to come to the country on either a permanent or temporary basis. The pre-country sealing status, in addition to the numerical limits placed upon the various immigration preferences, the INA also placed a limit on how many immigrants can come to the United States from any one country. Currently, no group of permanent immigrants, family-based and employment-based, from a single country can exceed 7% of the total amount of people immigrating to the United States in one fiscal year. Currently, Trump's immigration plan includes a 12-year path to citizenship for 1.8 million immigrants who arrived in the U.S. illegally as children. The plan also allocates $25 billion for a wall along the country's southern borders and additional security protections in the region. It would also prevent what Americans called chain migration, prohibiting green cards for the siblings and parents of immigrants. Our history had explained similar problems that deal with wage implications. Research has shown evidence supporting working wages of immigrants has helped stabilize wage rates, improve the overall economic health of industries, and increase the labor market competition. Low wage rate jobs. Given that most Americans do not compete with undocumented workers for jobs, there has not been a significant shift in wage rates. If immigrants were to be severely cut down, the lower paying jobs would now increase to about 25 cents per hour, inflating the wage rates. There are also long-term effects that increase investments for firms. Immigration may cause high labor supply initially, but over time, firms increase investment to restore the amount of capital per worker, which restores wages. Because there's a different skill set between native-born Americans and immigrants, they do not increase the labor market competition for native-born Americans, therefore do not negatively affect American workers' earnings. Immigrants support industrial success in America. Lesser skilled immigrants have kept entire industries alive by ensuring that more manufacturing jobs stay in service. In addition, these manufacturing jobs support and benefit native-born workers whose jobs are associated with manufacturing-involved industries. Moving on to another topic, taxes. Evidence suggests that although immigrants do not pay certain taxes due to their lack of citizenship, they do still support federal and state funding through other aspects. Specifically, according to the Budget Model article, immigrants often impose a heavier tax burden on natives at the state and local level. Immigrants, particularly those with low levels of education and income, generally have larger families and more children using public K-12 education, the largest component of state and local budgets. Furthermore, if immigrants' children are not already fluent English speakers, the pre-student cost of education may be substantially higher than the native-born child. Let's see. Much of what undocumented workers' earnings is recycled back into the economy through their constant purchase at low wages, which cut prices in general for American consumers. There is little effect on Social Security and Medicare taxes because they are of working age. Immigration taxes mostly go toward and help pay for defense and military spending. Immigrants work at low wages, which means that when they take public assistance, the average value of benefits received is below average, therefore having a smaller net cost to the federal government compared to the low-income American. The low wages that most undocumented immigrants obtain means that there's an economic recycling as they purchase goods, which overall lowers the purchase price for the American native-born American. It has been suggested that in different ways throughout several articles that immigrants have been responsible for creating jobs in America. Let's look at this from a closer perspective. Many immigrants create their job by developing their own businesses, which does not interfere with the native-born American. They are creating new jobs for American workers. Given that the average immigrant-owned business hires 11 employees, these businesses would account for 3.7 million to 5.2 million jobs in the economy, which is 45% of the current unemployed individuals. Most undocumented workers occupy low-paying jobs because they do not have the education or legal documentation to work for paying jobs. Therefore, they do not compete for higher wages. Even highly skilled immigrants cannot compete with certain working fields like language-dependent jobs because they lack the communication skills. Crime is another important subject to research when it comes to immigration. Studies have shown that crime is difficult to allocate for certain reasons we will discuss next. Statistics show that majority of the crime committed and documented in research is the crime of immigrating illegally. Therefore, the statistics that identify illegal immigrants for having a high crime rate do not announce what crime they are committing. Majority of the statistics recorded are not a reliable source and are not a well-studied area. The estimated number of non-citizen population is about 820,000 according to the Migration Policy Institute and 1.9 according to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. SCOME, the best research on illegal immigrant crime, exploits a natural experiment to see how the removal of illegal immigrants from an area can affect local crime rates. SCOME was an interior immigration enforcement program started in 2008 that checked the fingerprints of local and state arrestees against federal immigration databases. If ICE suspected the arrestee of being an illegal immigrant, then ICE would issue a detainer to hold the arrestee until ICE could pick them up. The Obama administration ended the SCOME in 2014, but the Trump administration reactivated it. If illegal immigrants were more crime-prone than natives, the crime rate in those local areas that were first enrolled in the program should have seen crime decline relative to the area that were not. As it turned out, SCOME had no significant effect on local crime rates, which means that illegal immigrants were not more crime-prone than natives. Overall, it is important to recognize that immigration plays a key role in the United States economy and influences American society on a daily basis. Throughout history, we have struggled with immigration laws while considering the benefits and consequences of illegal immigration. American wages, taxes, employment, and crime are all factors to consider when discussing immigration.